And welcome to the 2026 Independence Football Preview Show here on Video Productions. I'm Maris Lowry with Eric Thomas. We have the head coach of the Patriots, John Lilly. We have the heavy hitter, Mr. Nick Eskins, producing and directing, and Butch Mounts on camera. We're going to dive in to three segments of the program. We'll talk about what Independence has been doing in the offseason. We'll talk about their current roster as they prepare for the 2026 football season. And then in the last segment, we'll talk about the schedule. And we'll get started on the other side of the break as you're watching the 2026 Independence Preview Show here on Video Productions.
You have a goal. You know what you want. Start with us, New River Community and Technical College, your community college. Take classes online or in a classroom in Beaver, Lewisburg, Summersville, or Princeton, or step outside the classroom in one of our technical or health programs. Find flexible and affordable options to help you reach your goal. It's closer than you think when you start with us, New River Community and Technical College. Apply today.
Teriyaki Madness is real food made to order with fresh, high-quality ingredients. That's why Little General Stores has partnered with them to bring delicious, fresh favorites to your neighborhood. Visit TeriyakiMadness.com.
Fresh Asian grill.
Here we grow again. Pioneer Community Bank is proud to offer a network of banks right here in our communities. By offering you more locations, Pioneer continues to meet all your banking needs where you are. Please stop by our new Harper Road location. We are truly investing in Southern West Virginia. Pioneer Community Bank. Friendly service, great products. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Take care of this by the end of the day.
Sure, I'll take care of that. Done.
It's that easy with compliance. Compliance, we've got your back office.
This fall, let the beauty of the season in without the chill. At Window World of Beckley, we bring comfort, style, and savings to your home. Our windows and doors are built to handle West Virginia's wild and wonderful weather, keeping the warmth in and the energy bills low. With energy-efficient windows, expert installations, and affordable financing options, it's time to upgrade. It's never been easier to fall in love with your home again. Call 1-800-WINDOW-WORLD today.
And welcome back to Independence High School as we get ready to start this 2026 Independence Football Preview Show. And this first segment, we'll talk about the offseason, and that's being brought to you by Direct Choice Pre-Owned Auto Sales. You can dial them up at 256-1000. Go check out Rick Lewis, Jimmy Davison, or Richie Horton. Also, this first segment brought to you by Chemical Bio Systems, located in Beaver, supporting high school sports. Also by Leisure Lanes, Johnstown Road in Beckley, where they have futuristic bowling every Friday and Saturday night, and by Giovanni's. Mamma mia, if you're not Italian going in, you'll be Italian going out. When you come to Independence football games this fall, they're located there in Leicester Square. Well, we got head coach John Lilly of the Independence Patriots. And, Coach, we know football never sleeps. And I was coming back from Pittsburgh and ran into you and one of your assistants. You'd been on a 7-on-7. And I'm sure you've been very, very busy in the offseason. So talk about what you and the players and your staff have been up to.
Well, we started January 2nd, and it's been nonstop since then. We kind of have our own little system in the way we do things, and fortunately, it's been successful for us for the last couple of years. And we kind of just follow that system. We got our winter strength and conditioning, and then we have spring football. We do it just like college does it, and full practices, that kind of thing. And then we go into camp season, and then the last 3 weeks we doing just preseason training, running and lifting and trying to get ourselves ready for Monday.
Okay, Coach, with your preseason, do you look more into developing the young guys, and you know what you have with your older guys? So how do you integrate them into your system?
Well, that's a great question. I think it changes every year. For us, we have we lost probably 12 three-year starters, so we kind of knew what those guys were all about. We knew their strengths, they knew their weaknesses. They had played in big games, semifinals and state championships. and the younger kids were very, very talented, but not battle proven. So we tried to play them in the 7-on-7 as much as possible and get as many reps as we can. This year we've got a really big group of 8th graders that have come up, and then we've had a lot of kids transfer to us. So this year it was like kind of trying to see if everybody blend together and try to get that, and then try to learn each other, and try. And we even told the kids that we got to learn you, you got to learn us, and we got to see what your strengths are and your weaknesses. I mean, you can be a great athlete. That doesn't necessarily mean you're a great football player. So we got to see what you can do in certain situations. So we really hit the camp season probably harder than we've had since I've been here. I think we probably played 45, 50 7-on-7 games this year just to learn who's where. And we really wanted to try to develop, a second quarterback, make sure Paxton got some reps. But, baseball went so late for us this year. Some of those guys didn't get with us until we was already into our second 7-on-7. But to answer your question, Eric, yeah, we hit it probably harder than we should, or harder than we have in the past. But we had to learn what these kids can do.
And, Coach, you've been coaching, I guess, almost close to 40 years overall. And how much, I'm sure there's so many changes from, before we turned the mic on, we talked about old school days, the way the off season used to be to how the off season is now.
Oh, it's not even close. I mean, when I first started coaching in 1987, basically the summer was off. I mean, you lifted weights and you ran, or, you go play baseball somewhere, you playing basketball, we'd all go to the Y, even if you was a fat football guy like me, you go play basketball at the YMCA for 2 hours, winner stays, loser sets. Those days don't happen anymore because there's so much time demands on the kids. It's fun in some ways, but if you're a family and you got a 3-sport guy or 2-sport guy, it can become very tedious because we have guys that would, immediately leave our 7-on-7 and drive to Buchanan and play a baseball tournament or something. So, it's gotten to the point where it's very, very busy.
One of the most positive things I think are the flex days, because now the coaches, as you mentioned, you get to know the players get to know you, and when you get ready to start your fall camp, you can really hit the ground running, and you don't have to put in all your offense, defense, special teams because of all the flex days.
Yeah, and when all three of us began playing, that first week's just getting in shape. Now they're already in shape. We've already played 45. I think it's 47. Our line 47 7-on-7 games. Our linemen's already been to 4 camps. When we show up, the offense and defense is in. It's kind of like college, and now you can kind of work on some. You can get more advanced stuff. Where you're starting to see the high school offenses run RPOs and things that we couldn't do because in the 80s because we
didn't have the time.
You got to get in shape and you try to
you did more Oklahoma drills than you did anything.
right. Yeah, test people's manhood.
That's right.
Now with the rules, you can't do that. I mean, the first 2 days you can't even put your hands on someone the first 2 days. You can only use dummies the next 2 days. So you literally cannot have full contact till day 6. So imagine all the input that you're getting offensively and defensively, and that's why you're seeing more kids in West Virginia get offers and opportunities because the coaches can work with them and you can get more advanced stuff. I mean, I was watching a film of Independence on, I think John Moore put a bunch of them on YouTube, and there was a quarterback here in, I think it was like 85, 86. That cat was phenomenal. I mean, I'd love to have him. He gets in the open field. There's no one going to tackle him. All right. But he did not get the opportunity to go to 47 flex days, 47 7-on-7s, right, and get an advanced passing attack because you're really just trying to get the offense in and get it installed. So the game has changed immensely, and if you're not doing it, you're not going to be successful in the long haul. So, yeah, it's changed probably more so in the last 5 years than the previous 50.
And to piggyback off of that, the one thing I do like is player development. And you said you had some new pieces come in, and so you already have a good leader in your quarterback. So who are some of the young guys that are going to step up for you into that leadership role?
Well, God blessed us with a great run of athletes that we've had here, and those freshmen last year, they won 3 straight championships and county championships, and you guys usually call some of the games, and they're very, very athletic, and that development comes in the weight room and developing those work ethic and those standards. And when they're around the older kids, that rubs off. Like you have a Judah Price that rubs off on a Riddle and a Phelan and a Nelson, and then those guys rub off on Paxton, KJ, Connor James, those type kids. So you got a kid that's a lineman of the year, Logan Ison. Well, that rubs off on Alex Blankenship, and then Alex Blankenship rubs off on Jaden Shuck. And then once you get that going, then you develop a standard. And as those standards stay up there, then their development rises up. And that's what's been really good to us is it's harder to establish that standard, all right? But once it gets established, then it kind of trickled down. So the answer to your question is we have, KJ Vyers had a breakout year last year, I thought. He's a mismatch in the slot for a lot of people. Like I told Dave Morrison the other day, the best thing happened to him was he went from 5'11" to 6'3". He had that Tamar Slay jump,
yes,
in height. And then, Connor James shot up in height as well. Right there's 2 wide receivers in the slot position and wideout position. There are just 2 sophomores that are going to be pretty dang hard to stop. And, of course, Brock's only a junior. People forget about that. He's only a junior, and he's getting more mature. He's getting more mature with the things he's doing off the field as so much as on the field. And, we're seeing this summer we've had great improvement on things he needed to improve on. And, you got guys like David Steele, David's a legit 4.57 guy. He ran track. So, our track program was pretty successful this year. We were state runner-up. So every one of those guys were football players. And our track coach, so we got them running track to help with the speed. And, I think that's been successful because I think every one of them basically were football players. And, so those young guys, they're used to winning. They've been a part of some success. So when we get out there, their eyes are not real big. They're used to being there.
Yeah, Coach, with all this off-season work and everything you just talked about with all those 47 7-on-7s and flex days, if you came out the first week of practice and told your kids, your group, hey, we're going to go 2-a-days this week, how many kids would even know what 2-a-days are, right? They're like, what's Coach talking about, right?
Here's my belief on 2-a-days.
Yeah.
If you got to do a 2-a-day on Monday, August 3rd, you didn't do anything. And, imagine when you played, if you got 20 practices in May, all right, turned around and played 47 games.
Right.
All right. Now, if you're a guy that's going to run 7-on-7 plays and stuff like that, it doesn't help you. We run our offense and our defense. And so when we start day one, everything's in.
Right.
I mean, it's just review for us the first 4 days.
So, when you start your first week of fall camp, you could probably actually play a game that Friday.
We can even put the special teams out there, yeah. Our special teams are ready to go. There's long snappers have already been practicing since May. It's not like your grandpa's football.
No, it's not like the old days, is it? Back when you and I can say you too, because you and I are close to the same age. Played with leather helmets back when we were playing high school football, right?
My first year of high school, I had a suspension helmet, so these guys don't even know what a suspension helmet is. You go home and you got that little metal piece on
right.
scar on the side of your head where somebody hit you. But I will say this: I wish. We would have had some, not maybe as much, but some of that, because a lot of this stuff,
half of it
fun.
Anyway, yeah.
I mean, it's fun going to a 7-on-7 game. Would you rather go play 7-on-7 and go to a line camp than practice? It's like, would you rather go when we were talking earlier, when we were little, even if you was a fat football guy like me, you still went to the gym and shot some basketball.
Yeah.
Made the basketball guys look good.
Yeah.
So.
All right, that'll wrap up this first segment. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll dive into the personnel of the 2026 Independent Patriots, and we'll do it on the flip side of the break as you're watching the 2026 Independence Football Preview Show here on Video Productions.
Before you hit the Hatfield-McCoy trails, fuel up the way West Virginians do, at Little General Stores. We're proud to be part of your ride. Rooted in West Virginia and built for the back roads. Little General Stores. Fuel your adventure the West Virginia way.
Some moments change everything. In an instant, your world grows bigger, and suddenly, it's real. There are questions, there are plans, there are quiet worries you don't always say out loud. And there are providers who walk with you through all of it, from the first heartbeat to the first time you hold them in your arms. At Access Health Women's Health, you don't have to leave your community to receive exceptional care. Access Health, right here at home.
My name's Keith Sigmund. I'm the general manager here at Buchanan Mine. I find in Bluefield State graduates a characteristic that is uncommon in most today, and that characteristic is their work ethic.
Not afraid to spend as many hours as they need to spend here. They have a great work ethic. Why we search for Bluefield State graduates is because they don't shy away from the challenge.
And we welcome you back to Independence High School. We got head coach John Lilly here. I'm Maris Lowry with Eric Thomas. Butch Mounts on camera, the heavy hitter producing and directing. This second segment is we're going to talk about the 2026 personnel of the Patriots, and it's brought to you by Modley's Plumbing and Heating. Modley's the official plumbing and heating company of Video Productions. You can dial them up, 304-253-HELP. Also by Pioneer Community Bank. They got new locations opening soon. By New River Community and Technical College. Stay close to home and go far with the degree. And by Exit Elevation Realty. Luke Richmond is the broker, 256-0101. Exit Elevation, the official realty company of Video Productions. All right, Coach, let's talk about some of the personnel that fans will be seeing when they come to the games or when they watch it on Video Productions. One of the things is, as any coach on any level would love to have, is what you have. You have a very good, experienced quarterback coming back, and that's always a big plus.
Yeah, I've always said this. If you got your quarterback coming back, you're a step ahead of any school that's trying to break a new one in, especially now. You've seen how important it is in pro. If you don't have a quarterback, you have no chance. You see how important college is. Just take a look at what happened at Indiana last year. And in high school today, most of your quarterbacks, there's still a few schools that's, ground and pound, but you got to have a quarterback, and we're blessed to have one. Sometimes I think when he was a freshman, everybody expected him to be a senior, and now he's starting to get that development mentally and how he reacts to things and stuff. He's just grown so much. I think you guys will see a different Brock Green this year. If you've watched even some of his interviews, he's starting to get more mature in how he handles things and what he says and how he does things. And, him and Max are like mad scientists over there, on offense. And he executes very well. And the one thing I'll say about Brock is, his whole family's athletes, and his grandfather's been a head coach, a state championship head coach. And, his football IQ is just a little bit over some of the other kids. Sometimes he gets very frustrated because his IQ is so much better than some of the other kids. His expectations are a little higher. But, the biggest thing that with him is he's matured a lot.
Okay, touching on the quarterback a little bit, let's reflect back to last year. Your last game, Brock had a good game, probably not his best game. Do you think he can use that as fuel going into this season? Because he had a good Doddridge team that came in here and they capitalized off a couple of uncommon mistakes. What do you think that'll fuel Brock a little more this year?
I think it has. I think it already has. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses, and when you're in the 10th grade and everybody forgets you're only a 10th grader, you're going to do things maybe that you wouldn't do when you're a senior. Hopefully, we used to have this phrase, he makes a sophomore mistake. Don't make senior don't make a sophomore mistake. But, one of the things is, he's got an uncharacteristic arm strength that, there may be other quarterbacks in the state that people think are better, and that's okay. Everybody has their opinion. I have a right to my opinion. I think he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the state. All right, but he's got a stronger arm than I think any quarterback that you'll see as far as just stand there and throw the ball. And what he'll try to do sometimes is he'll try to throw it and thread the needle. But in high school, that's tough to do because, you don't know the speed of the other guy, So, that's a little bit of what we've been trying to work on. Don't try to make something out of nothing. If it's not there, eat it. Let's live for another day. And, yes, so that's we worked on that in 7-on-7. Just let's don't try to make something that's not there.
You also had talked on KJ Vyers, and he really, as you mentioned in our last segment, he really came into his own in that slot. He does create a matchup problem, and, I can recall all the games that Eric and I did last year, and especially the one game down at Scott where he really stepped up and able to get him the ball in space and get one block, and the speed he has, able to really get the ball down the field.
Yeah, and he does something that, separates the good and the great, as he can top the ball. And we had a kid here, before him, Cyrus Goodson, who could top the ball. And when I say top the ball, that means if you throw it up, he's going to go get it.
Yeah, he's going to get it at his highest point.
Yeah, get it at his highest point.
Yep.
And if you watch some of the catches he's made, that's what he does really well. He's got that knack. And he's also pretty smart. He's coach's son as well. We play all our pass patterns are choice routes, and I think we're one of the few teams in the state that just does all choice routes. And he's really smart on running those choices. He knows when to sit. He knows when to break. And you got a smart quarterback that can read that. It takes a little bit of time with that. That's why a lot of people don't do it. But our entire passing system is straight up choice routes. So if you got him matched up in the slot, he's either on a linebacker or a safety that's backed off. So
that's right.
He's going to be a hard matchup on that stuff. So, and then him and Brock have been throwing with each other since they were in youth league. So they got a little bit of advantage there in that regard.
And the name I want to pull out of the hat for me is a young man that stepped up and had to fill in when Nelson got hurt at running back. And that's your backup quarterback / running back / wherever, probably on offense, is Paxton Myers. I really like that young man. As you said, we covered him when he was in middle school. Great quarterback. And I just think he's real cerebral, but I think he can play anywhere because he loves football.
Yeah. He's we saw him in all the JV games, and we ended up running him more than throwing him in JV because in JV you just don't have the same receiver set. But he looks so good doing it, and I mean our JV schedule is so strong. When he's out there and he's running for 175 yards against Graham in a JV game, you're like, oh, okay. So when we lost Silas, and then actually in that same game, Light Cole rolled his ankle, and we had nobody left. We had Grimmett, and Grimmett does a fine job for us, and he'll play a lot for us. But Grimmett's, Grimmett weighs 150, and Paxton weighs 175. And so he went in the game against Princeton, and I thought against the defending state champs, I thought he had a good game. And he just stayed in there, and he got better each week. And the one thing that I'll say about him is he is an absolute workout junkie. I mean, if he's not here lifting weights or running, he's somewhere else lifting weights and running. So he's like Judah in that regard. He's just a workaholic. I love him to death. He's my kind of guy. He's an OKG. Just like yesterday was kind of a light day after we'd had conditioning tests, and then we moved into the locker room and that kind of stuff, and I come back in and he's in the weight room with video doing yoga off of the YouTube. So he's just that kind of kid.
And Coach, so much is made, and rightfully so, of the success you've had with all your skilled players, but we both know it starts up front in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Let's talk about what you're expecting, or what you're looking at in your line play on offense and defense.
Well, I think we have 10 guys that can start for any AA team in the state. and I say that humbly, not just braggadocious. It's just we got a first-team All-Stater coming back in Shuck, Jaden Shuck. He's gotten bigger and stronger. He's only going to be in the 11th grade. Right now he's 6'5", 295. We got a guard who's a two-year starter, and Alden Fitzpatrick coming up. That hurt us when we lost him last year. He's not the biggest guy, but he's probably the second or third strongest guy, and he's technique sound. He's a 4.0 student. We got a 3-year starter in Levi Phelan. Levi I think's right at 290. We got a guard who transferred to us, who's he was the number 7th ranked lineman in the state before he came over here, in Peyton Wade. He's technique sound. He's probably a better athlete of any of the linemen other than Conley. And, so then our right tackle is also a starter from last year, and Charles Aker. Charles is 6'5", 275, 285. And then we have Harrison Smith, who was a two-year, two-way starter at Greenbrier East. And then we've got Cade Calger, who's going to be a good one. He's going to play for us a lot. And then we have the defensive lineman, Carson Jones, who got a scholarship this summer. He's our nose guard. He's 6'1", 310 pounds. The best thing with him is he's down. He's lost a lot of weight, so he moves better now. A lot of our guys have lost weight, and I think that's what's made them better. They're not as fleshy. And then, we got Cyrus, Caden Cyrus, who's, he's just a walking muscle. If you ever seen him, he's like 5'10", 250, but he's just he's got one neck. He starts at the neck and goes down. And they're all good kids. They're quiet. They don't say a lot. They work hard. They did a conditioning test yesterday and passed it with flying colors. And then we got, honest to goodness, we got 6 freshman linemen that I think have the capability to be better than them 2 years from now. So, whatever we're doing it right. We just got to figure out what we're doing so we can keep doing it right. But, we've been blessed with talent.
And the younger guys on the line, will you try to mix them in like early? You try to build that depth. Like you said, you have 10 that you think can start, but sometimes you have to look ahead. Do you think any of them will see any varsity action?
No, I don't. I don't think they will, because we've got so many upperclassmen that are strong. That's where the JV program has to be productive, and our JV program for the last several years is probably harder than our high school program, and it's really helped us out. Like we said earlier, you got Paxton playing quarterback going against Graham, going against Princeton, going against Greenbrier East. Those are all schools that are bigger than we are, and they're on a different level than we are, and that development works really well, and that's kind of how we develop them. But last year we did have a lot of young linemen play. These guys that are coming up, they need a year, and they're going to be pretty dang good.
All right, that will do it for this segment. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll get into the final segment, which will be the schedule portion, and we'll talk about the 2026 Independence football schedule on the other side of the break here on Video Productions.
Hey, my name's Paige, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is the crispiness of the breading and the tenderness of the filet. It's tasty, it's warm, it's total satisfaction.
Hi, this is Tanya, and what makes the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich original to me is that warm bun, the perfectly seasoned chicken, and that pickle. Woo! I love it. There's a taste of my childhood in every bite.
I never thought this would happen.
When disaster takes control of your life, we got you. Get it back with a single call to the team that shows up fast to make things right. Serve Pro, like it never even happened.
Direct Choice Pre-Owned Auto Sales is a proud supporter of all our area middle school and high school athletics. Direct Choice Pre-Owned Auto Sales keeps a huge selection of cars, trucks, and SUVs with some of the best prices in southern West Virginia. We also have several lenders for your financing needs. Direct Choice Pre-Owned Auto Sales and your student athletes, a winning combination.
Teriyaki Madness is real food made to order with fresh, high-quality ingredients. That's why Little General Stores has partnered with them to bring delicious, fresh favorites to your neighborhood. Visit TeriyakiMadness.com.
Fresh Asian Grill.
When you're in need of a plumber, you want someone that's going to treat you like family. Modley's Plumbing and Heating, a family-owned business since 1987, wants you to know our customers and employees are as important as family. Built by family to families, quality work is our hallmark at Modley's Plumbing and Heating. So the next time you're in need of a plumber, give Modley's Plumbing and Heating a call at 304-253-HELP. Help to Modley's means handling every little problem.
All right, welcome back to Independence High School. Final segment here with head coach John Lilly. We'll talk about the schedule in this segment brought to you by City National Bank, located at Main Street in Beckley. Check out their branch manager, Casey Maynor, or the money doctor, Mary Denny. They'll take care of your financial needs. Also by Allstate Insurance. Allstate Insurance, 304-252-8646. Lori Richmond, the agent. She's my agent, takes great care of me. She'll take great care of you. Also by Bluefield State University, Accept the Challenge, and by Pepsi of Southern West Virginia. You got to have a nice, clean, crisp taste of a regular diet or Pepsi Zero. All right, Coach, we get into the schedule. Save the best for last, because I know this schedule is way different than most teams of you picking up games. And at one point, I think when we talked earlier in the year, you only had 5 games, and then you had 9, and now you were able to get a 10th game. But before we get into that, let's talk about your scrimmages, which will be August the 14th and August 21st, both on the road. The 14th at Chapmanville and the 21st at Princeton. So 2 really quality opponents, and you'll really find out really what your squad is all about by going against those quality opponents.
Yeah, I mean, Chapmanville was in the semifinals last year in AAA, and Princeton won it in AAA. You know, I think it'll let us know really early what we have to work on. I've kind of always liked to have one easy scrimmage and one hard scrimmage, but sometimes when you have that hard scrimmage, it really lets you know where your weaknesses are, and if you can catch it and get ready for that opening game. You know, there's a lot of question marks. We got a lot of new people playing. You know, we got guys like Carson Treadway, and who's going to be a phenomenal athlete, and we've got you know, just a lot of guys that, and that's where we can really see what they can really do under fire. And you know, what better way than to go against the AAA state champs, you know?
Yeah, well, Coach, let's just say it. I know why you want to have the hard scrimmages, because you're an old coach. You want them to go. You want to be able to point out something that they're not doing, because sometimes you got to have a little negativity to really build them back up.
You do, and you have to be challenged, you know. And years ago, when we were in the state championship, those 2 years we was in the state championship, you know, it was important for us to put Bluefield on the schedule, because I felt like if you could play even with Bluefield or beat Bluefield, okay, now you know you got the team that can make some noise, you know. And the only way you can get ready for that atmosphere is to play in that atmosphere. And so you're right. It's, you know, scrimmage hard. You just want to try to get out of there with not too many people banged up.
And then when you get into the regular season, your first 3 games are against out-of-state opponents. And I know that your first game originally, when we were talking, you had that opening week, August 28th open, but you've since picked up a team right outside of Pittsburgh. Elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, at June 1st, we only had 9 games. We only had 2 home games. And I just didn't think that was fair to our kids to just have 2 home games. But we literally could not find anybody. It's hard to find that opening game, because like a lot of the states around us, they open up a week earlier than we do. So it's hard to get those out-of-state teams to play, because our schedules are different.
Right.
And, you know, and if you don't catch them in the first 3 games, then they're in a regional play. So not only that, I wasn't willing to go play a team in North Carolina and then have 3 games under the belt, and that was just going to be our first game. And in my career, having that opening date has always been a disadvantage for us. I mean, you know, maybe it was bad on my part, but, you know, when your kids sit there and they see everybody else open up, and then you're a week behind everybody else, it's deflating. And so I just didn't want to do that. And it wasn't a game that, you know, it just came out of nowhere. They had the same thing happen. They were going to play a team that was a big powerhouse up there where they're at, and they got selected to play a school in Cincinnati on ESPN, so they let them out of that contract. And then, you know, just from where we played Barnesville and Martins Ferry last year, they say, hey, give India a call and let's see if we can't hook up. And, you know, they're a bigger school than we are. They play in the Whippeal. They were a playoff team in the Whippeal. So it'd be a challenge for us. But, you know, honestly, it's kind of turned in to be fun. You know, I think our kids really enjoy playing guys from out of state.
Right.
You know, and it sounds weird because you think they wouldn't. They would rather play guys locally. But, you know, these guys, you know, they see these teams on TV. They play on Fox Pittsburgh, you know, and they're like, well, can we play? You know, you hear this all the time. Can West Virginia guys play against these schools? And if you follow it, West Virginia teams do pretty good against these schools.
And, you know, that's what's amazing, Coach. You're talking about a team from Pittsburgh. And, Eric, you can really speak to this because you're an Independence grad. A team from Pittsburgh coming to Coal City, West Virginia.
Yeah, that's unreal. You know, we thought it was big when Man came up here back in the day. So,
well, when Tootie was down there, that was a big
So that's where you start off. Then you're taking a trip to North Carolina, and you're going to have to help me with the team and where that is in North Carolina.
We're going to play them at Johnson C. Smith. Out to be good for us because last year we played at a college field and we walked off the field and we had 3 scholarship offers. Now, no one accepted them to go there, all right, but we did have the offers. And so that's turned out to be a positive thing for us too. And the positive thing is that those college coaches are there. The Johnson C. Smith opens up the next day, so they have 2 colleges down there watching them play. It's a college atmosphere, so you know, it kind of feels a little different. You know, the stadiums are built different. So it was a really fun experience for us to do that. You know, playing on a gray turf field was weird, you know. I was having like major optical I can't find the line.
That's right.
On a gray field, you know. And so our kids, honestly, I guess we've just gotten to the point where it's been fun for us, exciting for us, gives us something to look forward to. You know, am I going to sit here and say, hey, would I rather play Johnson C. Smith, or would I rather play a local rival? Yeah, well, naturally, we'd like to play a local rivalry, but it has turned out to be a fun experience for us. They're actually going to play a private school in Texas, in Dublin, Ohio, before they play us.
Wow!
So they got a little bit more money than we do here at Coal City, but it's actually a fun point here. It's Joe Gibbs' school. Joe Gibbs built the school. His whole racing thing is right beside it, you know, and they have their Washington Redskin museum there.
Well, I definitely hope you win the game.
Yeah. I'm not a Redskin guy, or whatever they are now.
Commander, so let me ask you this, Coach. So how long of a trip is this for you?
Honestly, it's really not that bad. I mean, you can be in Charlotte in 3 hours.
That's Charlotte's it's easy trip.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this stuff, you know, people say, but it's faster than playing in Morgantown.
Well, I think it's a shorter trip than Brooke.
Yeah, Brooke. Yeah. And you went there a couple years ago. Yeah. And, you know, that's what I was going to say with all the games that you've played over the last 2 or 3 years, with this group, this core group you have, with the playoff games you've played and everywhere you've been, this shouldn't even faze them no matter who or where you have to go.
Well, I would like to think playing in Ohio, those games in Ohio would help prepare us.
Right. That's what I say, yeah.
You know, it's no easy trip to Mingo Central, you know, by the way, or playing Frankfurt. So,
right.
You know, the kids look at it like, hey, you know, let's head south.
Yeah, so your third game, you actually get to play at home. You get to play a team from Washington, D.C., and that's going to be a Saturday afternoon game. And I imagine the reason it's Saturday because obviously they probably couldn't get here on Friday.
Well, they're going to tie in educational thing with it. You know, that's an inner city school, so you know they're going to do some things at New River Gorge, and they're making it an educational thing. A lot of their kids haven't seen. Just like we haven't seen stuff on the inner city, they haven't seen that stuff in the country. You
definitely.
know? And we got a lot of fun activities. You know, we're going to eat together after the game, and you know, I thought it was a good educational thing for us as well. They got tons of speed, so we did 7-on-7 against Coolidge at Virginia Tech, and they're in the same conference, and so our kids know, you know, that's what to expect. And that, you know, we did that purposely. So. Yeah, it should be a fun. The Saturday thing, that's new to us, so we'll see how we handle that, you know.
But, you know, Eric, just like we talked about before in the other game we talked about with Pittsburgh, now you got a team from Washington. When you were at Independence High School, and I know it's been years ago, you couldn't even imagine a team from Pittsburgh, Washington, D.C. coming to Gulf City to play Independence.
Yeah, the evolution of football. And you know, like as we talked off the mic, man, I think it's good for the kids to see different environments.
And then you go back on the road. You talked about Mingo Central. Then you got to go to Mingo Central after all that. So after those first 3 games playing out-of-state teams, your first in-state on the road at Mingo Central.
Yeah, I saw somewhere where they're like preseason 6. So that means we play three AA teams that are all ranked in the top 6 in the state. They've got a couple kids back. They've had 2 or 3 kids get scholarship offers. Our paths have crossed in 7-on-7, so we kind of know, we know each other. And Dave does a good job down there. Dave, their head coach, played football in the NFL, and he was a standout at Kentucky. They get a lot of kids coming from everywhere down there, and he does a good job. It's going to be tough. I mean, I think the year after we won the state championship, we went down there and they beat us. So then they came back up and we beat them. We returned the favor. So it's going to be a good game for us.
And then when you get to the halfway point against Bluefield on the road at Mitchell Stadium.
Oh yeah, that's probably we just hope we win one of those games before we get down there. I mean, those first 4 games are pretty challenging. Bluefield's loaded. Everybody knows they're loaded. They've got everybody back from last year. Skill levels second to none. They've had a couple offensive linemen transfer. They got one big kid from Capital, and he, believe it or not, he hangs out with us a lot at all these camps. He's a good kid. And then they got an all-state guy from Graham who's pretty dang good. So you put those 2 guys with what they already have back, and it's going to be an interesting trip.
Well, Coach, over the years with the battles you've had with Bluefield in the postseason, regular season, would it be fair to say Bluefield is now Independence's biggest rival?
Well, football-wise, right this second, maybe.
Yes.
I mean, people have said that. I mean, I'm from Bluefield, and I think it's always going to be Princeton Graham for them, and I still think for us it's still Liberty, Shady Spring. I mean, our kids get fired up for that. But I think on the football field and the challenge of it, yes. We see each other a lot. We go to camps a lot. The system is very similar. I mean, you could take, the Gainer, Shamara, Eras, and all the coaches, that have come from that, and you can go to almost any one of those practices, and you're going to say, oh, there's similarities there. So it's a system that's won a lot of state championships amongst probably 20 coaches in the area that's been super successful coming out of that coaching tree. And it's just a lot of similarities when you see each other, even especially defensively. I mean, we almost do the same exact thing.
Okay, so earlier you spoke on your quarterback, and you said you're kind of ahead of the curve if you have your quarterback back. They have a pretty good quarterback as well. So how do you prepare for that as far as that he can sling it all over the lot, real cerebral as well, and as you said, has skill?
Well, he's improved a lot. We've seen him in 7-on-7. We played him in 7-on-7. Every 7-on-7 we go to, they're there. I would give him the benefit that he's even gotten better. He is very technique sound. He's probably, if you take Twig and Brock and even though Brock's gotten better technique-wise, I would say, he's much more polished in that regard. They've done a good job with him. They use him a little different than we do. That they're okay with throwing the ball 40 times. We're still going to be 50-50 if we can, just because we feel like we've got an offensive line, and that's an advantage for us in some ways. But yes, he has improved. He's gotten a little bit taller. They're clones of each other, really. They're both of them aren't going to run the ball a lot, and they're both very, very smart football-wise. It's fun watching them go against each other. Even the year before, they went against each other in middle school. The previous 2 years in middle school, they went against each other. So they've gone against each other now 4 times. It's fun watching them play. I think it's, leave out the competitive part of it. I think it's fun to watch both their careers because I think they're both great players.
And, Coach, that gets you to the halfway point. Then on October 2nd, and this is crazy for me to say, but that's your last regular season home game, October 2nd, and you have James Monroe, a team you played in the playoffs a couple of years ago, and I guess you could call that a little bit of a local rivalry, but maybe I don't recall James Monroe and Independence playing all that much. Maybe that could become a rivalry.
Yeah, I just think, it's geographical. They're closer to some other schools, and they don't have to come up this way. Yeah, I think anytime you play against a Mustangs team, you better be ready to go. They're going to be physical. John does a really good job of putting people in the right places and moving these pieces around. He does a really good job with putting the right people in the right place. So I think they're going to be pretty solid. Just depends on, they're like everybody else. Any one of those three schools, Bluefield, Indy, or James Monroe, if they get a few injuries, changes the whole game.
It's a numbers thing.
It's a numbers thing,
and that's what you get with that smaller community. So when you play a James Monroe, you're talking about a fan base like this Independence fan base, rabid fan base, because smaller community, they really stand behind their team. So I think that's a good game to pick up.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, we played here on a Sunday after a blizzard, and it was still packed. And the sun was out, but it was still like 10 degrees. And I think you guys.
Bill O'Brien had to step in.
It was Sunday NFL football.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien we had to call the bullpen on that one, Coach. Had to go to the backup quarterback.
You had to bring in the legend.
Yes. All right. After that, then no more home games. Hopefully till the postseason. But for the regular season, you're on the road. You go to West Side, down in the heart of Wyoming County. Always a tough trip.
It is. They've traditionally played us pretty good, and they've got a couple kids that are really good athletes. So it'll be fun to see how we match up. When you get to that point in time in the season, I hate to say it, the injuries dictate, how well somebody is, and I think that's why this year we have spent so much time trying to develop depth. We felt like last year losing 5 starters just, it deflated us. We didn't have the backups that could go in at the time, that time in the playoffs to offset losing those guys. And even though a couple of them went out there and tried to play for Old Glory, they couldn't walk. But that's where we're at that time of year.
And then you got a long trip. You got to go to Wheeling to play Lindsley, and I do believe that is a Saturday afternoon game.
Yeah, another Saturday game. Not only that, it's going to be a 2 o'clock Saturday game. So that means we're leaving out of here probably about 5 o'clock in the morning. So we'll see how that happens, how that works out. There's a lot of concerns with that. Lindsley's a team that can be really, really good. Like 3 years ago, they're whooping Huntington bad. Or the next year, it just depends. They're a private school and depends on what kids come in, and they get a lot of foreign students from Europe and Canada. So it's just really hard to prepare for them.
Yeah, and then you talk about, as you just mentioned, getting up early, leaving here at 5 a.m., getting on the bus, stopping, eating. The whole routine is totally different when you have to take that long a trip and play on the same day.
Yeah, when you're in the playoffs and you got to do it, the enthusiasm of the playoffs oversets that. But in the regular season, when you got to wake up at 5 o'clock, I mean, there was a time when we played Martinsburg at 12 o'clock at Martinsburg, and we elected just to go up and play. The playoff, that offset the enthusiasm. You know what I'm saying? That you was enthusiastic about doing because it's playoff. Regular season game, we'll see. We'll see.
Well, then after 8 straight weeks, you'll finally get a open week, a bye week, and I'm sure that you'd love to have that right where you have it to kind of maybe reset, recharge your battery, and then have a final push of the regular season, hopefully into the postseason.
Yeah, those last 2 games, I think they're going to be tough. I mean, Frankfurt at Frankfurt, I don't know. Have they lost? I don't think they've lost a regular season game in 2 years. I know they didn't lose any last year. And Kevin's probably one of the best coaches in the state. And he's a wing tee guru. So when you run against those guys that really run that system really well, it's hard to stop. I think it's going to be a great challenge for us. It'll probably let us know if we are a playoff team or not. And then Greenbrier East, a school that's they're twice our size. We got 500, they got 1,000. So it's going to be a challenging last 2 games, and probably when we get to that point, we're going to have some success in there if we're going to make the playoffs. So, it's a challenging schedule. I think our kids are excited about it. We're looking at it in more of a positive than a negative. Just like Eric said, sometimes those new experiences, makes the kids more excited about playing. So we'll see. Well, I think our kids are excited about it. I haven't heard anything negative.
That's good.
Yeah. I doubt they say anything negative.
Hey, you think they're going to say anything negative to you? You got that whistle, Coach. Hey, on the line.
Yeah, extra reps. There you go.
On the line. Hey, let's touch on the Frankfurt one real quick. This kind of could be a school that's solidly creeping into a rival in all sports for especially baseball. Didn't they eliminate Independence in baseball?
Beat them in the state championship a few years back.
Years ago.
We were at the game.
And we were at that game. And And the funny story, real quick story about it. Remember, one of the fans was whining about being where they were in their classification. They were, and you look 3 years down the road, and they've won a football championship and a baseball. So is that kind of in the back of your mind? Did you guys play them in the playoffs a couple of years back as well?
We were supposed to, and then they got. And actually, that was probably Frankfurt's best football team that he's had. We were supposed to open up with them in the first round of the playoffs, and they got shut down by COVID. And then we ended up going to Fairmont. Kevin is a great guy and a great coach. He don't really want to travel that far because he don't have to. I would rather not travel 5 hours either. But it's to the point now with the way the system is in West Virginia, you almost don't have a choice. And, you see Bluefield playing Fairmont. You just see those things. And but, yes, I think 3 times we've played them in baseball. And I think you can correct me wrong. I even think their head coach and Scotty played baseball together, if I remember right. So there's a lot of people there that I don't know how if you're 5 hours apart, but there's a connection.
Yes.
I think they're excited about playing us. I think we're excited about playing us. We'll play them up there this year. Then they're going to come back down to us next year. So it's a fair trade-off. And you play. It'll let you know.
It'll let you know where you stand
real quick. Where you stand.
Well, Coach, the late great Lou Holtz always used to say when you were talking about the schedule and talking about who he would play, no matter if he was at Notre Dame or Arkansas, Minnesota, wherever he was, he said he really didn't concern on who they play or where they play, just how they play. And I'm sure you feel the same way about that.
Yeah. And the one thing that I thought it deflated us last year, Eric, was you're in the second round playoffs and we had all these injuries and it just took maybe we didn't handle it as good as we could have mentally. But you're in practice and you look over there and you got 5 guys sitting out. The key guys, the whole weak side of our defense, and our best linebacker, in Silas not out there, and he tried to go, but he didn't practice that week. What we have to develop some depth. And it's got to be on me. I mean, we've got to, like you said, we've got to throw people into the game. Even if you're just sitting there saying, okay, we got to get 10 reps out of this guy, and the guy in the press box says, hey, we got to get JoJo out and see what he can do. And because then when they get in the game, they're just our eyes don't get real big, or the old phrase, they're under the lights, things change. So that's going to be, but it's the same for them. I mean. They're smaller than we are. Frankfurt's only got about 400 students. That's what people forget.
Yeah, believe me, we know.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. And Coach, it's so right because a lot of times it's about players, not necessarily.
It is, and they got 3 guys. I mean, they were, third place in track and field.
Yes.
They won the state championship in football and basketball.
Baseball. Yeah.
And they were super competitive. I think they made it to Charleston in basketball. I don't think they did much when they got there, but they still made it.
Yeah.
They've had a run of phenomenal athletes for such a small community, and and they've had some transfers too. But for the most part, it's Frankfurt boys. And with us for the most part, it's Independence boys. Sometimes 1 or 2 guys gets a lot of hype, but on our football team, 97% of the guys are guys that played for the Mountaineers and the good old Patriot youth league. So. I think it's going to be fun, but I'll just finish up by saying this. I think you guys were here from the very beginning when video productions first started. We were one of the first teams you guys started covering, and we were so appreciative of it. I don't think at that point in time social media was just blowing up with this stuff. I don't think we have 2 Kennedy Award winners if you guys didn't give them the exposure so people can see Atticus Goodson and say, oh, yeah, well, that dude's a pretty good player. Or Judah Price.
Right.
Oh, yeah, he's doing this against Bluefield, and he's doing this against North Marion, and he's doing this against Fairmont. So he's legit. So I appreciate you guys. And I would say this also is, 7 years ago, if you would have said, to anybody, and you being an alum, I hope this resonates a little bit. If you would say 7 years ago that you could play in 2 quarterfinals, 4 semifinals, 2 state championships, would that be something that was good? And I think most people would say that's a pretty good run. And would you be playing schools from 4 different states and traveling all these places, and your kids get to see all these experiences, whether they want to or whether they don't want to.
Right.
That's always debatable. But I think hopefully we've built the program to where our community would be proud of what we're doing. It's a unique place over here. Everybody supports everybody. You can go to a baseball game, it's packed. You can go to a football game, it's packed. I've never seen a girls' volleyball match where we have to cut it off because there's too many people in the gym. It's just a great place to be, and I'm lucky to be here. And like I said, I mean, I think Independence is the best kept secret in the county.
All right, before we go, Eric, see if you got one last thing or anything else you want to add to that.
He touched on it. That was going to be I was going to ask, actually, what was your message to the fans, parents, and players? And you already summed it up. You read my mind.
Well, they're going to have to be patient with us this year. I mean, they really are, because, you sit here and you look at the overall season, you're like, I'm only going to get to see these guys 3 times. I don't even get to see them in the scrimmage. It's just the way it is, and it's just the way it fell. Hopefully next year a lot of these teams that, like, if we want to play, Lindsley's coming back to us next year. Hopefully, it contractually, if Ambassador Christian wants to come back and we can't find a local team, they'll come back. So that's contractually. I do think we're going to get a lot of our old rivals back just from, we've had new coaches hired in the area. They've conveyed to me, we want to get this thing going back again. So I think, I do think we'll get some of our local teams back next year. But our community is going to have to be patient with us and follow us and support us, because sometimes what happens, you guys know, in the world that we live in, out of sight's out of mind. And, so those 3 games, we really need them to pack the house and come over and support these kids, because you're just not going to get those opportunities.
Well, that'll wrap things up. Coach, we wish you and your staff the best of luck in this 2026 football season. And, I know you're chomping at the bit to get fall camp started, so appreciate you taking the time.
Right.
Thank you very much, and good luck to the Independence Patriots.
Thank you, too. You guys have always been good to us.
And we'll wrap it up here on Video Productions.